Clearing the static. The signal is clear now. Okay. Welcome to Shadow Striker TV. It's your host, the artist formerly known as Väärä-Vesa. Okay, so I'm using some notes here because I'm a lunatic. If I would take them to a computer or something, my mind would distract too much. But I'm a storyteller. I guess the main, in the core of this, the purpose of starting to become a public speaker or whatever, is the urge to be a storyteller, or not to be a storyteller, just to be a projector of some stories and experiences from life, what I've learned so far. And also, importantly, the magic in Finnish language, in Finnish poetry. How am I able to explain it to non-Finnish speakers? So this is also why I'm doing it in English. I will cite some Finnish poetry, lyrics of songs, translate them as good as possible for you who don't understand Finnish, because the language we speak is kind of sorcery. But I understand it more and more that the mindset we possess, the dark humor, is kind of a survival mechanism that is natural to us. Mennen tullen. Mennen tullen. Tulen? Okay. Maybe I will explain later. I try not to go too much into side quests. Yeah, I do take a lot of notes from the mindfulness sessions I listen, and philosophy, life experience, whatever. Take notes to shelf. Take them, put them to shelf. And what I often think about is that, okay, if I would suddenly cease to be, this is not something sad, memento mori, live each moment as it was your last. So I often think about it. If I would suddenly cease to be the body, I would, of course, carry on as an energy. That's different. But if my body would cease to be and I couldn't be able to explain to those here in material plane, someone would come, clean up this house, find all the notes. They would think, that guy was fucked up. So part of this thing, speaking publicly, and this isn't the first thing. I've done a few interviews under other topic, local thing called kvlt, K-pop, K-stop, K-hole. Okay, yeah, whatever. So becoming a public speaker is the process of dissolving masks, because the people who know me in real life They know this guy's a storyteller. When he opens his mouth, he won't stop for a while, which is something quite difficult for all of them to comprehend with. But I often do that with the mindset of there's some pattern, some thought, some idea I want to express by starting from one point and going to the other, not like gossip journalism. I want to get likes in the social media, la di da di da. Because that would only drain the energy out of the brethren, the sistren. But if what my process of dissolving masks, when I spoke publicly, of course there's a mask, can be a mask, we all all need the ego to be able to function in this material plane. So ego is not the enemy, something necessary, but we need to realize we are not ego. We are in this world, but not of it. And me seeing myself as some kind of bridge between worlds, I mean, becoming aware through the path that this is the role. My role is not to make myself small, as I might have done, I did do when I was growing up, when I was teenager, early adulthood. I was the one who was always driving the car. There's a group of people in the van. We go from festival to festival, from club gig to club gig, inside Finland, outside of it. It's often me who is the silent observer, who is most of the time sober when everybody is partying. Of course, I had time to party, but I had to sober up, recharge before I need to drive back. But I think more often than not, people were around me were a little bit uncertain. What is this guy thinking? Is he for real? When he doesn't speak, but he listens and he responds by gestures, whatever. He doesn't like to be at the center of attention. And also, like, throughout the years, I played football, ice hockey. Among football, I suddenly became like the leader of the pack in like an amateur football team. Okay, I'm the player, manager, caretaker, all of it, and also like the driver, somebody who's taking care of the bills and etc. And in those years, smoking weed was like essential to everyday life, and you can imagine the paranoia it creates. You try to keep everything under control, relax by smoking pot, and then you need to go again. I didn't have time to eat properly, nourish my body, my soul, and the spirit. Oh, oh, oh. I was always here and there. Now 41 years of age in this body. I need to collect some of those memories. Uh, when the mind still works, the brain is still remembering this life. Of course, we can argue what the soul should remember is our natural state, the natural loving state. This is a part of it. The process. Yeah, what I said. Dissolving masks about I'm telling a story to a person, whether it's close one or someone I meet in a local bar or whatever. So so what that person might think is like, is that guy genuine or is this like something from ego, um, some mask he's wearing to seek external validation. Uh-huh. So are there different masks for different circumstances? Therefore I speak publicly, and I hope this won't be like 2 hours long, because this is supposed to be just an introduction to the channel, the topic, Shadow Striker. Uh, English, yeah. My first interview I did was in Uganda. Oh, you know, Finnish band Sleepy Sleepers, they use some Ugandan imagery. There is Idi Amin and some Austrian painter. I'm not sure if you're aware. Back to Karelia. I always hurry. Always hurry, yeah. That's like the illusion we are conditioned with in this modern world. Always responsive, always afraid of losing something. Which brings me to one master departure. One Finnish poet, rockstar master has recently departed, age 69, called Pate Mustajärvi. Okay, you could argue whether about his importance, you know, maybe he was comedian, but yeah, this is something I often will come back to, and this is something I will naturally touch on, like deep dwelling on deep or abstract subjects. It's important or natural to have this dark humor aspect, so all of that wouldn't be so heavy to swallow. And during this time when artificial intelligence is taking over, there's so many self-help mindfulness lectures out there that are narrated by this artificial intelligence speaker, narrator. Are people really so much in a hurry they cannot create human content? Of course, there is that out there as well, but that's kind of my responsibility. I feel like I need to do this as a step towards the right direction. So Pate Mustajärvi departure. Nationally, this band Pobeda was very successful. They still exist, but the original singer, leader of the band, Pate Mustajärvi, quit the band like 2 years ago, or 2.5 years, I think so, 2023 summer. I think it was the last gig. It's here. Here he is. So Well, there's some interesting songs in this one, but what I want to quote is their song again. The notes. Here. Okay, so like this is what I will often come back to. Citing Finnish poets, rock lyrics, trying to explain them to you, my dear viewers and listeners. Here's a song called Yö by Popeda. This pronouncing the letter Y in Finnish, we pronounce it Y. Y. So Finnish is among the root languages of mankind. Then there was Sven and Dan, who formed Sweden, Denmark. But we are all person, sons of Väärä. Okay, not to go too much into Aser alphabet and the Bok family saga. Going back to the subject of Pate Mustajärvi poetry and Popeda. Yeah, they were more or less this kind of humoristic rock and roll band. There was something similar with Motorhead, but not even close. Popeda is Popeda. So they have a song called Yö, and we also have a Finnish band called Yö, which comes from the west coast, Pori. And yeah, we had a discussion last weekend with a couple of friends about how great the first two albums of Yö was. But that's a different topic. Now, Popeda comes from Tampere, the rock and roll capital of Finland. You could honestly say, but those things are not so black and white. There was huge, but there was some conflict, turmoil between Tampere and Helsinki, which is at the bottom in the south, where I am speaking of. Between the Tampere and Helsinki rock and roll scene back in the day. Oh, these guys come from the capital, let's kick their ass, or let's not give them credit, or whatever. And then there's Turku, our former capital, which has always come in from behind, because they are. Some say that if the Finnish map is formed as like a maid, Suomi-neito they call it. So if it's like viewed like that, the other hand is like erect. So people say this is the asshole of the maid, Turku. But again, when you look at it, it's actually in the front, and maybe the ass is on the east side. Okay, so again, doors of perception. This is how I get sidetracked. Bear with me. So here comes the poem. I first recite it in Finnish, then I translate it. Mä maistoin sun viinin, sen pois sylkäisin. Mun päässä soi lujaa ja raskaasti. Näitä öitä mä pelkään. Kun kun oot lähellä. Mutta jos lähdet, ei mulle mitään jää. Kun yö on musta, kun yö raivoaa, kun yö sut suunniltaan pelosta saa. Kun et löydä valoa, et katkaisijaa. Mistä saat hulluuden loppumaan? Koko yön mä kuljin, etsin, unohdin. Mä löysin taivaan. Löysin helvetin. Mun oli kuuma. Mä niin pelkäsin. Ja kun aamu nousi, palelin, vapisin. Kun yö on musta, kun yö raivoaa. Kun yö sut suunniltaan on. I'm messing up. You're supposed to repeat. Kun yö on musta, kun yö raivoaa. Kun yö sua repii, pääs sekoittaa. Kun yö loppuu, vaan alkaakseen taas. Then there's a repetition of the chorus. Kun yö on musta, kun yö raivoaa. Kun yö sut suunniltaan pelosta saa. Kun et löydä valoa, et katkaisijaa. Mistä saat hulluuden loppumaan? Translation. I tasted your wine. I spat it out. It's raining heavy. It's ringing heavy in my head. I dread these nights when you're close. But if you leave, I won't have anything left. When the night is black, when the night rages, when the night distraughts you with fear, when you can't find the light, you can't find the switch. Sorry. How do you make the madness stop? Stop! All night I wondered, searched, forgot. I found heaven, I found hell. I was hot. I was so scared. And when the morning dawned, I shivered. When the night is black, when the night rages, when the night is black, when the night rages, when the night tears you apart, messes your head, when the night distraughts you with fear. Comes to repetition. When the night is black, when the night rages, when the night distraughts you with fear. You can't find the light, you can't find the switch. How do you make the madness stop? Stop. Sorry about this. It disturbs me as well, but I had to do this. It's been going on for a couple of months already, and it's getting on my nerves. But the morning is always like still, even though there's some kind of distractions, it's always like better for mindfulness and spiritual whatever, when the mind is not too filled with external noise. Okay, so the word yö. It means the night. I try to keep up with the red lane, as they say. Punainen lanka, whatever. Okay. So, example of beauty in Finnish poetry, rock lyricism. And I'm again stuck in the very beginning, so let's see if I'm ever able to finish what I started. I guess everything is about stepping towards right direction, starting to give clear signal. And all this gibberish that comes from my mouth is less important than the resonance that comes from my heart. Because that's what the quantum field and the angels are interested of. The strongest resonance. So that's one master who has departed. Another one is Ozzy Osbourne. I wish I had my pendant here, at least. Yeah. I'm messing up a lot. Yeah. As I'm the, yeah, you know, this is now one thing, but you know, something that I bought 1998 from Helsinki gig when Black Sabbath was playing with the original lineup. I can't fucking hear you. Louder. There's so much I would like to say about the passing of Ozzy Osbourne. But maybe that's like topic for another video. Oh yeah. So, but what I want to say, like, I hadn't put any notes about Black Sabbath but now when I mentioned it, I need to say, for me, it's the most influential band in the universe. Because there wouldn't be doom metal probably without those four blokes from Aston, Birmingham. And of course they are spiritual souls from the same source as we all are. And I guess they understood from the early first steps that they were able to open their heart, maybe dissolve the ego to an extent, because they were young and they did something so exceptional. I doubt that they had it in their mind when they were beginning, when they had already done a couple of albums, touring clubs, that they would have such a great impact. But the connection with English people and Finnish people, as I have experienced, is our understanding of humor. We have the same kind of sitcom element in our way of association. Scorchio. Oh, that's Spanish. Yeah, it's like a, a bit more than 1 year ago when I was tour driver for Solstice. I was the second driver. They weren't in my car, but the warm-up band Cardinals Folly was in my car. But of course, these 3 gigs, I could socialize with this Rich Walker and his band. Another controversial figure, but what I would say is he is a level-head and he has good sense of humor. But I see that the modern people are quite unable to swallow that kind of raunchy humor. So it's not for them. But don't. I would advise if something is not for you, don't go to the market square. Don't go to forums and shout, "Hey, this guy speaks in riddles. He is a witch. There needs to be sanctions." Okay, so last weekend there was also like Cardinals Folly gig in 6. It was the last one. Yeah, as you see, when the resonance comes from anxiety or anger, it's not clear. But when you lower your shoulders, it comes more clear. Last weekend was Cardinals Folly gig at 6. It was the last one for their drummer Joni, who is a person visually challenged. He cannot see other than a little bit. The source of light is there. But he is a great drummer. But now he stepped down from the arena, and as it was their last gig, I wanted to buy their album and have his autograph in it, and the other 2 guys involved, Mikko and Juho as well. But you can vaguely see there's some cryptic writings there. The marker we used was non-permanent. So anyway, that's a metaphor. That's the nature of this material plane. Everything is temporary. Väliaikaista, kaikki on vain. It's all temporary as the blind man's autograph. But great gig from Cardinals Folly, and also Caskets Open. Hold on. Caskets Open. Oh. By the way, here's the masters. If you don't have Transmission Impossible, get it. Old recordings from live sessions and radio performance. Oh yeah, I guess we have it here. Gaskets open. Another doom metal, how you'd say, crown jewels of Finland, actually, because until so far it's been a band that I have a little bit like pushed aside, like gave it a try but never really dwelled deep into it. But now when I saw them live, it was like, aha, they are not just a cheap copy of Reverend Bizarre. Not at all, actually. I was impressed, and you don't need my validation for your art. But I was impressed. And so they were second, Cardinals Folly main act, and the first one was Viesti. Also like kind of, they are new metal, but a little bit more like this kind of psychedelic take on doom metal with some samples used as well. So check it out. I can't explain well enough. I think they only have like this one physical release so far under the name Aurora. They have this demo released through Farfalla Records, but now they are called Viesti, meaning message. And as I understood, what they were going after with this Aurora name is that we have a mental asylum in Helsinki which is called Aurora. Been there, done that. As my notebook says, so many things. But I understood. Never stop the madness. Never stop the madness. You can always take pills and damp down your emotions. But emotions are always something that make you function. They tell you you need to act now. There's no time to lose. Whatever it is, universe loves movement. Yeah. And okay, maybe I will mention one thing about recent releases. Okay, there's Paska Alttari release, Modern Anxiety. This is a copy of 100 copies. Release of 100 copies, okay. So this kind of like a experimental Finnish noise, etc. Compilation. And it's like self-promotion a little bit because I provided one track, not my best. Everybody can agree. But I'm grateful someone asked me to provide a track, and I was able to provide, because there has been some kind of a hiatus during the last 2 years, and I'm not a musician, but I should I feel I should just whatever. Under pressure, the diamond forms, etc. So here's kind of like a note in Finnish saying the existence of this disease is eternal. The pain and suffering, the fruit and flesh, lunatic, cursed agony. Yeah, modern anxiety, you know, what it means to me, as I can say. I can't speak for the person really who is behind this release. I mean, all glories to Harari Kankaanpää. Yeah, my brother, he, yeah, modern anxiety. You know, we all live in this matrix, and we have our own ways of behavior, how we survive in the mechanism, and I look up to the people who make art because it's artists really know how to open their heart and exist less with their ego, or yeah, less from that egocentric way of living. I am miserable. All the everything that causes me misery comes from outside. I cannot be the best version of myself because the circumstances suck. Is the modern anxiety in its core, where we have been led, we have been suppressed to believe I am this body. I need to enjoy. Okay. Suffering is eternal. Um, yeah, that's about that. Paska-alttari, the shit altar. Go check it out. If there's any of those releases left, get it. And okay, I want to pay some homage also to American master, living legend, who just turned 65 years of age in this material world. How were you able to do that, David? Finished? I think he's Estonian. So, David, how were you ever able to do it 65 years in this body, in this material world? Congratulations. There's one legendary interview, probably the only thing he did for Finnish, at least for Finnish TV, is the one he did for Moon TV, Heta Hyttinen, around the House of Atreus times, when they had a gig in Sweden, not in Finland. I get it, you know. They are not so big that it's financially beneficial to come all over here, because there's the Gulf of Finland, Baltic Sea, you know, in between, whatever. I get it. But I was fortunate enough to see them in 2007, and yeah, in a festival in Finland, where they eventually came to. But I'm a little bit ashamed that there was like only a handful of people, in my opinion, were spectating Virgin still. I was lucky to be able to get this pic of Edward Persino, who also turned years in this material world, 3rd of January, becoming 63 years in this material world. So congratulations to Edward Persino. Eddie, great job. I don't know what's going on with the current lineup of Virgin still. Why isn't Edward part of it? I can only speculate, but it's not my job to judge anyone or. But I can give credit. Thank you so much for your beautiful art. And I know David Defay is like character who is maybe larger than life, so it, you were part of that journey for decades, Edward. So great job. And it's probably not easy all the time, but yeah, coming back to what David said around the brink of millennium, when his vision is to sing about these ancient tragedies, Greek, Roman mythologies. But what he wanted to say is that he's not interested in giving history lessons. He's interested in current life and how these myths and philosophies kind of are present all the time. And through them you can learn to live in the moment. And when asked about what does the title Virgin still mean, he said that it's a fresh blade from the furnace that cuts through all the bullshit in life. This is well said. And you need to remember that David isn't the original member of the band. It was originated by Jack Starr, but there was then, in the early days, there was two great egos. And I don't mean anything bad, but there can be conflict, and they, as I understood, they let David have Virgin still because he became the trademark. His voice is unique. My opinion is that their diamond in their art was at its sharpest in the mid 90s, late 90s. Something I don't get much accompanied with this opinion, but I will cite, because this is the Marriage of Heaven and Hell Part 1. The year was, I hope I won't say something incorrect. 94. Yeah, that's how it is. Here's the band picture. Beautiful. And handsome. The heart is separated in two. There is the masculine and feminine. So when people say they are just a cheap copy of Manowar, I always say Manowar represents something 100% masculine and the suppression of the feminine. See what I mean? Whereas Virgin Steel is not afraid, David Defay, not afraid to portray the feminine sides of a soul in masculine body. No. Okay. So what I want to cite now is Blood and Gasoline, because this aspect of driving around a lot, going through inner turmoil, partying while your soul wants to scream, something needs to come out, I need to solve my trauma and whatever has been part of me driving. And okay, I will get back to it, but lot of my personal trauma is from this being in the wheel, and also like over generational trauma carries from this kind of trauma. My father was a car mechanic, like bus mechanic, then studied to become a bus driver. Early 90s happened this. And 93 has a multi-layered meaning for me, you know. 93, he departed the world by his own hand. Driving after losing his license, carrying on with the job, being an functional alcoholic, never speaking about what's going on inside. Long story. But the way I have dealt with it is this Jungian citation that kind of extracts the whole thing, you know, how it's kind of something which explains the shadow work aspect. No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. So this kind of wounded healer archetype, I see it cannot be formed, manifested without real life experience. When we have fractures, the light can penetrate. If we only study in universities from books, philosophy, we are on mind level, never resonating on the heart awareness. So I see it also as a blessing in disguise to be, I'm grateful all the experiences in life, even though there's sadness involved, but that never broke me. What it did, it broke me open. So coming back to giving homage to Virgin Steel. Blood and Gasoline. Music and lyrics by David DeFay. Another night on the highway, smell of hate in the air, another season of knowing that there's nobody there. So you race down the runway, leaving hope on the rails, with a spike in your memory and the marks of the nails. Gold and silver shed a light that's blinding, hard and cold. You're bleeding, red and flowing like a wine for crying, young or old. Like blood and gasoline. As you rust in the mirror, as your face starts to glow, you can count every mile on your barren soul. In the scream of the engine, sing your final song. Blackened and burned, what was young and strong. Faster and faster, a nightmare we ride. Who'll take the reins when the miracle dies? Faster and faster till everything dies. Killing is our way of keeping alive. He would come a solo of Edward Personnel. Another night on the highway, blood and dust in the air, new disease or addiction, that brings that hip dead stare in the media madness where they proclaim you a king. First they crown and anoint you, then make you dance on a string. Repeating of the chorus. Gold and silver shed a light that's blinding hot and cold. You're bleeding, red and flowing like a wine for crying young or old, like blood and gasoline. Let that sink in. So yeah, coming back to whether the Spirit Striker TV is a football term, Chris Waddle. Chris and Glenn and Chris, standing in the rain, cold electric sky, no diamond light. Now I'm on my own, so alone. Oh darling, diamond lights, cold as ice to me. The sitcom thing. Okay, yeah. It's all about this journey so far. For me, the vision comes more clear and clear. Okay, nobody is 100% empath, 100% narcissist, but we have both qualities. But the key, in my opinion, is that a person is able to pause for a moment. Am I acting from fear or am I acting from love? And love is something very heavy word, especially in Finnish, rakkaus. I have a problem pronouncing the letter R as resonating as it's supposed to in Finnish. But the word rakkaus is something we don't just sow. You reap what you sow. So you better be able to pronounce the word rakkaus. Because you reap what you sow. If you're always complaining, the other people make me miserable, television makes me miserable as there is only reruns of Seinfeld or whatever. So you reap this lack. You are manifesting from lack. You will always be dissatisfied. So the journey so far is becoming clearer and clearer, the vision that my role is more or less a bridge between worlds, you know. It's not just being a driver for bands from all over the world, it's also like being part of this football team, several football teams, seeing so many people from so many backgrounds who normally wouldn't join the same table because there's no common interests, but through football I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of people from different backgrounds. So yeah, I have always been quite at ease with behaving, not being too rude or trying to have this subtle kind of approach to wherever you come from. And I guess the ability how I've carried the Finnish flag is also a little bit subtle. I don't force feed it to anyone's mouth. Yeah, so like see myself as a mediator, introvert, empath. Um, Often when an introvert empath begins to speak, it's like an opening of the Pandora's box. It can be a little bit, it can cause discomfort around, but I have learned that the discomfort in others is not my fault. It speaks more about them. So if this brings this discomfort to you, this is not for you. So understanding more and more this memento mori ideology, live each moment as it was your last. Instead of the rational mind, have you ever, like, listening to the intuition? This is why it's uh, rich, nourishing for the soul to be a part of, like, in association with musicians, artists, whatever, poets. It can be draining for the mind, but what you left is the psychic spiritual bank account that the repo man can't take away your material belongings, but this is what is the experience in life. He can try, but you know. So ever experienced the flow state of mind? The rational mind often operates from fear, while intuition operates from love. And most modern men, by men I mean men and women, uh, have misunderstood the word as only something romantical. So the perverted, the television is like now covered with the Japanese Navy flag. Because it's not completely wrong to have some entertainment in life at times. TV, turistit vittuun. But television, Bill Hicks said it's like watching television is like spraying black paint on your third eye. So when you see it, it's fine. Just don't. My advice is not to spend your whole life watching TV, because it will mess up your way of what's the word? Way of observing the world. And sometimes I wake up in the middle of my speech to realize, am I starting to sound like a teacher? Because that's the moment to pause. By sharing something, I can encourage other brethren, sister, to do the shadow work. I'm not an expert, but the universe loves movement. The quantum field reacts to our intention, not our words. So what I was supposed to speak is my Uganda experience. Because I guess many people around me are interested to hear the story, but I can't tell the entire story because it would take a lot of time. Maybe I will make another separate episode of that, but it's also like part of this introduction that I made this interview with Whale of Ammunition guitarist, a doom metal band from Uganda. Quite interesting thing. I was able to make the interview with their guitarist Solomon Dust. But the reason I went there, it dates back all the way to finding someone online, some lady from Uganda, and I was like, okay, I know in general this scenario where women from that part of the world, whether it's Tanzania, Kenya, Congo, etc., that they seek white men or Western men, knowing that we have poverty in here and you have all the riches. And I was totally aware of that, but I wasn't a rich man. And by the way, I not so long ago, a few days ago, I went to karaoke again, and because I wanted to sing Simon and Garfunkel's song, The Boxer. I'm not gonna cite it all. I am just a poor boy, though my story is seldom told. La la la, boom, the bazooka sound. La la la. It resonated when I heard it from a C cassette the day before. I was like, hey, what is this song? I've heard it so many times. Then I'm like taking Sound Hound. This is The Boxer. I needed to go to local bar, sing it, and there was some. I know there's some guy who is like maybe 20 years older than me, who is. I think he has his history with violent conduct and etc. So, but he was like, his shoulders had dropped. He was like, I don't know you, but you sang well. Especially after that one, I had sang Sting song, Fields of Gold. So, but it was early evening. I didn't have the heart to stay there because there was too much gossiping. So I went. This bar is called Paris. So I went to Oslo bar. The Bangladeshi mafia know how to name the local bars, but I went from Paris to Oslo, and in Oslo, when I go in from the door, the same song is from the speakers, The Boxer, La La La. So this synchronicities. I'm coming back to Uganda trip. So it was 11th of November 2023. I met this lady online. 11th of November, 11/11. As I'm writing, that just passed. But it often, when you're watching digital clock, does it happen that you often gaze it intuitionally and like, 11/11. It is said that it's like the manifestation that you're on the right path. Angelic manifestation. So Uganda experience. I had a long distance relationship for so long. I didn't have much money. I was still working in a kitchen. My job was a chef and also like a youth director meanwhile. So I was again a bridge between worlds, like the responsible adult and the playful child. There was youth who were very troubled. I had the privilege also to be their director, but my way of working that kind of position is also a little bit playful. I don't want to be like the director or anything, because I want to have this playful, childlike view of perception, way of behavior, while having taking responsibility for my action, you know, harmony. But I was working my ass off in the kitchen, blah blah blah. Little payment, a lot of time consumed. It's more like result of that is more like bore out. But this long distance relationship kind of carried on this thing. Then suddenly the financial thing situation sold out, and I had some extra money for reasons. And 2024, around September, I decided, okay, I will travel. And you know, when I had this dating profile, what I said originally was like, the picture was in front of a Savonlinna garden in a separate house garden. That house belongs to artist Lauri Äijälä, I think. Lauri Ainala, of course. Yeah, I don't know him personally, but he let us to stay there during that time. So there was a picture in my dating profile from there, and I simply said, "Finding a soulmate from OkCupid in 2023 impossible. Let's find out." Ha! Is me making a video blog? Is me manifesting the Vark, the wolf archetype? But it was surprising to me how many like African women turned out to me and like, let's get married. But okay, you know, with one of them I really decided, okay, she's special, you know, I like her way of behavior and positivity when things are not easy, etc. So I decided to travel and setting the date to December 2024. So, because I saw that I was going through kind of therapy, not official therapy, but kind of some support group. And the person who I spoke with there was like trying to convince me that there's so many examples of men whose life have switched into more positive path through a long distance marriage or whatever. So he said that if you end up depressed by trying versus getting depressed by not trying, it's always easier to cope with it through having tried. So I thought, yeah, I need to do it, because if I wouldn't, I would be always like thinking, what if I had tried? Okay. But this Uganda journey is a topic of its own. I could speak hours about it. It's a different world. This is bought from a handicap store from Uganda, Entebbe. Yeah, at least you have given a try. Yeah, you know, because I didn't speak too much to relatives about this, not at all. Before traveling, I thought, when I'm on the plane, that's when I'm gonna inform them I'm gonna be out for nearly a month. Because I knew what I would get, like the negative feedback. You're being used. You'll kill yourself after you realize you've been used. You'll fall deep into depression, etc. There's always danger around. But also I got positive feedback from friends who I had shared with this thing. Many asked when they saw me, have you already bought the tickets? One day I did. Because many thought it would be something I would only speak of and never put into action. Yeah, this note is another one for the shelf. I already said something about it. Okay, yeah, it's this kind of. What I wanted to say is like, I have zero regret of traveling. My experience of Uganda was mainly positive. And in general, each one of us should avoid regretting, complaining, manifesting from fear or lack of something. Yeah, thus, when we're able to integrate the shadow, it no longer navigates our life. It's not an easy process that you once do when you're free from anxiety or fear. Development isn't always linear or an uphill climb. It's often a spiral. Um, it's a change in perspective. Some spiritual teachers or mindfulness life coaches, they speak of this moving from 3D to 5D. I How I perceive it is like, okay, 3D is something you experience from when you watch movies or something, because we have also our sense of smell and sense of heart. It's okay, yeah. You can argue how is your daily consciousness, how do you experience 3D or 5D? But yeah, most of us live in the 3D when they are all only with their phones. They don't taste or smell the world, the life. Yeah, change in perception. Maybe we have mistaken the painting for the actual reality. There are so many defense mechanisms which prevent us from gazing inwards. Mechanisms which our cellular operating system is used. We build many defensive mechanisms like these kind of things. I'm scratching my nose or my hair or whatever, when modern world likes to put like diagnosis stamp on top of people, ADD, ADHD, DDD. But those are like symptoms from some root causes of suffering or anxiety. They are rarely those root causes are touched upon. But when you correct some resonance inside, these might just vanish. These kind of symptoms: white sugar, alcohol, entertainment, modern medicine, you name it. We are being fed with this fear of losing something. Hey, here's a product that will solve one symptom, and you're addicted for life. Those symptoms often derive from trauma. The wounded child who wasn't loved enough. Aren't we all operating from that wounded child consciousness? Let me just check the video is still running. Haha. 1 hour 20 minutes down. Only 5 hours left. Now I need to pick up my son from school. 3 hours. Oh yeah. So this wounded child, most of us operate from that consciousness, trying to fix or silence inner turmoil with habits like alcohol, TV, entertainment. On the sensory level, we seek enjoyment for our senses, the survival static. Some of us see the importance of transforming towards the wounded healer. And this, I feel, it develops through human interaction. Can't be studied in universities. Ego, not our enemy. Something necessary when operating at this level. I went through this earlier. Discussing about spiritual, philosophical topics, we tend to create something of a spiritual ego. You know, that's like one of the reasons me prolonging becoming a public speaker. Like, there's the danger. Am I starting to sound too much like a self-proclaimed guru? I try to avoid it. Just, I need to keep it in mind. Everybody, you know, when you speak of spiritual subjects, it will be more healthy when I have a guest with me, you know, when there's actual interaction. Now I'm just smelling my own farts. And I get sidetracked. There's the urge to portray yourself as a mystic. Can you see my third eye opening when I blow the conch shell? But now when I'm 40 years old, not 20, when I kind of had this awakening experience, then I was so easily distracted with, the transformation I see in the people I'm speaking to. They begin to glow when I speak. So when you're young, your body is still high on testosterone. Even if it's unconscious, you think, how am I able to use this knowledge in that way, you know? I can, yeah, you know. Okay. But around those times, coming back to 2008, like partial awakening, I was listening a lot to lectures of Terence McKenna, and many of you know because he's a very public, famous speaker who was very much into psychedelics, the mushroom symbiosis, that we are just apes who have some symbiotic relationship with the mushroom. That's the modern human state we have been in for thousands of years, and we are still in kind of, we can't explain with science the mysteries of life. And what Terence McKenna said about this symbiosis, that language, culture, religions, and all of the side symptoms of what he said, but are result of that when the ape takes the psilocybin. That's why that's like a speculation. That's why the okay, here's an elephant. I was supposed to say cow, but yeah, Ganesh is another. Yeah, Ganesh is another thing, but you know, but the Indians, how they see the cattle, the cow as sacred is the thing that in their dung the mushroom was growing, and when people realized all the benefits, the visions they had under the influence, they saw it sacred. And so there is also many stone obelisks and stone monuments around the world built on spots that have higher resonance. If you think about the Earth's grid theory, it becomes clear. So Terence McKenna said also something like this: hurl yourself into the abyss. Realize, okay, hurl yourself into the abyss. Realize it's a feather bed. I have written in a cryptic way that I have trouble understanding myself, but this quote, hurl yourself into the abyss and realize it's a feather bed. That's a longer citation. Check it out. But it also, like, when I throughout the years, I every now and then I listen Terence McKenna lectures because it often gives more clearance of what's the chaos around and what's the nature of reality. So okay, now I only have like the artwork of my so far the latest cassette. Yeah, my artist name is Isa Kosminen. I have only released few cassettes, and I performed live a couple of times, and I don't know, like, I'm a little bit uneasy with promoting my art, but this I can stand with this release because I know it came from a field and I was only a projector of some idea. It wasn't just me turning knobs. So the term höyhensänkykuilu, it's 3 words combined. This is how in Finnish languages we combine words. Dual, tribal, you name it. Höyhen, feather, sänky, bed, kuilu, abyss. The abyss is a feather bed. So this kind of chaotic noise, static sound can be also healing, meditative. Let me hurl in the abyss, you know. And I asked my friend Willy to make the artwork. Isn't it nice? There's a place near Cannes that is nice. What's it called? Nice. Okay. There's I will end soon, even though I have so many subjects to go on. Yeah. So the nature of material reality is through Vedic textures consisted of 3 modes: sattva, goodness; raja, passion; tamo, ignorance. Goodness, passion, ignorance. and the conditioned soul, unaware of the natural state, the loving state, navigates sidetracked without alignment. Okay. So the vision of putting up this podcast had been forming for years and years and years. And I have to mention my friend Paolo, who's been helping me with the Pysäkki podcast. We had this idea for years because he's an Italian guy I met I met him at 10 years ago or so at the fast food restaurant, and he paid attention. I have some shirts of metal bands, etc., long hair, so I must know something of music. So he came to ask me, have I seen Loputon Gehenna liekki, the eternal flame of Gehenna, Finnish black metal documentary? I was like, yeah, no, I haven't until then. But he said, okay, it's interesting, but the bonus material which dwells on noise music, noise art, is more interesting. Okay, so he borrowed me it with the USB stick, and I watched it, and yeah, that's the black metal side, the actual documentary. He said already that this guy from Beherit is the most interesting one, level-headed guy, and I agree. Holocausto, nuclear Holocausto, vengeance, Marko Laiho. He has this Buddhist view of life, and I'm not going to speak too much about some other person because let him speak if he wants. But I agree with this, that he has the most heavy or meaningful things to say. It's not saying that the other people would have meaningless topics, but when people are drunk, they say stupid things. But when someone has a clear mind, they speak with clarity. But so did the guy from Stormhide in this thing. Okay, so yeah, but so Paula said to me that I would like to go to a bar with you and have a pint and we talk. So from the first moment on in Kallio bars, when we discussed this Italian way of expressing yourself through gestures and like expressing your emotions, over expressing, is present, and it contagious. Even the Finnish person who is like mellow and mild and melancholic is contaminated with this movement. So when we speak about, and I guess we both are in our core introverts, but when we speak of something that interests us, it sparks. It's like the bow has been like so tense here for so long. When you release it, the power drops. And when there's a restaurant scenario, it's usually AK, Alexis K. If you ever watched the Kaurismäki movie Fallen Leaves, one in that bar that's a very Kaurismäki place. Okay, so the people around, when they are in different tables, they're like, oh fuck, those guys are speaking so loud. So it's contagious to the whole community. And so thus we realized it sparks power and or sparks whatever in the surrounding, and therefore we need to do some kind of radio show or podcast where we share cultural and underground phenomena so that the non-locals could also understand what is Finnish culture and what is underground in Finland, you know. So this started to manifest this putting a podcast called K-pysäkki when we heard from Helsinki City granting funds to Kontula Cultural Mall, Kontula Kulttuuriostari project. So we started to, and this name became like in an altered state of consciousness, trance-like state, like dwelling on the ideas like keros, like the cellar floor, sub-basement, subculture, underground, but I wanted to indulge that make it KP, which means like it's KP when someone is speaking like, hey, have you heard this band called Blood Red Hourglass or whatever, and your feeling is like KP. Like, I haven't heard and I'm not interested. It's shit anyway. So we wanted to have it called KP somehow. So K-pysäkki came from that. And the problem is how to fit everything inside the frame, you know. I have Uganda journey ahead. I'm planning to interview somebody. There's some interesting underground phenomena like the Vakalivuud, Niege Niege Festival / Niege Niege Tapes. Veil of Ammunition, one Uganda band. Okay, you know, I will try to find the 7-inch, you know, it's somewhere here. So I contacted all of those men. Yeah, so check it out. Veil of Ammunition. I was able to get it from Iron Pegasus. So probably the only distro in Europe that is distributing their releases. Check it out. Infernal Supremacy 7-inch. So yeah, like I tried to contact Vakalivuud, or my partner called them. Are you selling shirts? Are you selling movies? And they're like, are you selling patches? They're like, butchers? What? The person answering from the Ramon Studios. They're like totally clueless. Oh, we have this worldwide export, but we can't. We have no clue how to export. Because when you have like tourists coming to Uganda, why is everybody so clueless of like you have something like Vakalivuud that people know, okay, this is Ugandan culture, underground, whatever. So they are totally clueless. We might have some shirt, but not sure. Okay. So we never went there because it was so like, we might have, we might not have. Okay, yeah, thank you very much. I sent letter, email to Niege Niege Tapes, no response. I sent email to Veil of Ammunition and I got a response. Delayed, but I got it during my stay. And like I believe it was Victor Osrath, their frontman, who wrote. He said, "We live in separate places. We don't live in Uganda." That he himself lives in Toronto, Canada. Kummeli. Two people live in Kenya, Nairobi, and one person lives in Democratic Republic of Congo. But this guy who lives in Congo, he's coming to Uganda before Christmas. So here's his number, contact him. And I was able to do it. I had already been like 3 weeks in Uganda, and now I'm like, now I have the opportunity to like really do some cultural exchange, ask some interesting questions. How, why there isn't more metal bands from Africa in general? And when I was, we met at like a beach restaurant in the shore of Lake Victoria, which is the source of the River Nile, the White Nile. More of that later. So there, at this restaurant, we have already done like more than 1 hour of material. Okay, now we're eating, etc. We can't continue. While we were eating, there's a guy, white guy, is like, finish. I'm like, yeah. Because I think, how do you know? What's your experience? Would you like, from my accent, instantly think this guy's Finnish just from the accent? Because I found it a little bit strange that some person is like recognizing, oh, this guy's Finn. Maybe he was listening and we were speaking some subjects, name dropping Finnish bands or something, but that was the owner of the bar, and he said, I have a Finnish friend here, his name is Pasi. I had to pause the interview for a while, going to say hello to him. I actually recorded that interaction as well, but that's side quest. Because it was so crazy to see a Finnish person in Uganda where there is like 15 million people and only very few Westerners in general. Okay, but this guy said that, okay, I travel here every now and then, I have a Ugandan wife, etc. And also my Finnish friends are coming here later. Those, like, I carried on with the interview. Then one, I see like a big guy, white guy, comes like, onko täällä suomalaisia? Like, is there Finns? And I have like, I'm like already a little bit like, like I'm in the middle of something interesting, speaking about metal and esotericism, spiritual subjects, cultural phenomena with this person. I wouldn't like to have this Finnish association right now. Been there, done that. Okay, so but this guy is like, where are you from? And he's wearing piece of Uganda Safari shirt. I didn't realize my friend had mentioned about this guy while I was still in Finland, but I just didn't connect the dots. He asked where I'm from. I'm like, Helsinki. He said, yeah, but where exactly? I said, Kontula. And he's like, oh, okay, like, that's what I kind of felt when I saw you, that you come from the east and not even the far east. So I'm like, haha, so where are you from? And he said, atop the hill. It was 2 days before Christmas. And he said, okay, we are gonna have Christmas feast, sauna, Karelian pies, jaloviina, koskenkorva, whatever, you name it. Rye bread, the casseroles, laatikko foods. He said, welcome. We changed our numbers, and that's it. I was carrying on with the interview. So the next day, 23rd of December, we went to karaoke in Acacia Avenue in Kampala called Bubbles O'Reilly's. Yeah, more of that later. But the last song I performed there was Horttokaalo song Miksi ovet ei aukene meille. You know, it's Horttokaalo is a Finnish gypsy band. The name means the true gypsy. And the song meaning is why won't the doors open for us? Is this because of our race? Is this the fault of our race? So it was kind of like, you know, inverted because I'm a white man in along so many Africans. You can say black, yeah. Because what they were saying, like, you white people worry so much about white man problems, like is calling someone black like something done, you know. That's, but yeah, meeting, like, whether it's hostile or it can be just neutral, you know. Black is black, white is white. Yeah. So yeah, I met Pasi Ukko, this head of safari business, along with his wife Nina. Christmas Day, we go to their place. And immediately in the after the gates, this guy says, "Happy appearance day of Lemmy Kilmister." Oh, damn right. Hyvää joulua. We call it Jule, not something that reminds of the Nazarene. Not Christendom, it's pagan. Midwinter solstice. So I've experienced also many church ceremonies in Sundays, which were nice. Uganda. We went to countryside, which was nice. Yeah, the karaoke thing, yeah, whatever. I will explain more in depth later. But this 11/11 being you know, manifesting synchronicities, because my friend who I haven't known before, but he was friends with this Harry who Teemu, they were at my place just before I left, and this Teemu says, my friend is running a safari business. We know from Rovaniemi. I still didn't connect the dots while I was there at his place in Uganda. But later on I was like, for fuck's sake. I was told about this guy and I just happened to randomly meet him in this beachside restaurant. Let's talk about the 2008 awakening a little bit. It was preceded by years of depression, keeping myself small. It's a learned pattern, the fog that prevents to see clearly. Perverted perception of love. The everyday life was like consisted of you know, either you are studying or working, but afterwards you go to TV, watch drama series and nonsense, which is certain kind of manipulation. Or the manipulation, if you watch Bold and Beautiful, it's like everything is manipulation and conspiracies. And that's where you let to believe that you can talk shit up behind people's back in order to gain approval from certain people wearing masks. That's what it's all about. Heavy shit. When there's awakening, to starting to see more clearly, the people around might not be ready. They might be immature or just too stuck with the patterns they are used to. While you are speaking the truth, it brings so much discomfort. I feel guilt for being a slave of these patterns, so don't speak so much. I'm sorry if I brought you discomfort. But I need to speak the truth. Otherwise, there's no reason for me to exist. Yeah, this survival static we are programmed to. Survival state of the mind slash body and spirit, because if when the mind is distracted with survival mechanisms, there's no peace in the body, in the spirit either. You know, I have tension in my neck, so pardon me if I'm anxious. I appear anxious. But anyway, this is like, there was some positive things around those years, like if you go back like 2006, 2006 until 2008, years of silent sorrow. Around those times I was writing letters to another long distance kind of attraction. She never gave much response to me, but in my mind this was the person for me. So I sent her letters, called her sometimes she answered, but most often not. So, and we met through movies or whatever, and if I would have had been aware, if I would just face the truth, she's not interested of this guy who is so compressed, not compressed, I mean so small, so false with the misaligned in what he's saying and what he's believing and how he's acting in the moment, how he's not present in the moment. So that doesn't attract. I couldn't attract because I had been led to believe, to be silent, not to speak too much. Because if you speak too much, people might see you're crazy. That's true, I am crazy. Everybody is crazy. But it manifests in so many different ways. You need to do the shadow work and just accept it. Amor fati. Learn to embrace the fate. Differentiate what is fate, what is your own will. Now I can speak more ease. But okay, 2006, 2007 and 8. There was positive things in those years, like the football thing and ice hockey thing, etc. I was part of these team sports, movement, interaction with the team, playing for the team. When you score, it's such an exciting euphoria. That's why you go there. It doesn't matter if you go to NHL or Premier League. The emotion is most important. The grassroots thing. The genuine human aspect. You need to feel these emotions, or you're eager to feel. And it's not so big deal if you lose. You still get to Valhalla. And you die in the battle. Ah, yeah. So I was stuck in this loop, the loop of suffering, working hard for 5 days and getting wasted during weekends. And when you get wasted, you meet friends, and sometimes you open up about your trauma, your tribulations, etc. And the next day you realize this guy was so drunk he doesn't remember a thing I was saying, sharing with him last night. So you're stuck in this loop. You're working hard, and bakery job is like this. Most of the time you are standing like this, just stable. You're working. You're kind of moving, but this part of the body is not moving so much. You're standing most of the time. So you need rest for the body after the shift is ended. And I was working uh, night shift those years. So I had my comfortable in darkness kind of state in the small bakery in the small town called Riihimäki. Skepticism band from Riihimäki. Irrelevant, but relevant always. Um, so comfortable in darkness in that small community of inside the bakery, masculine, all male. More about that later, but 2008. Okay, yeah, which that year. First, I was okay. This circle of like being the tour driver for so many bands and friends, festivals come, festivals end, as festivals must. So first I was tour driver for Barbados, Japanese band. Uh, this was a metal warning tour, and no, this is something different. Yeah, but yeah. By the way, this is the Sting album, Where the Fields of Gold. Fuck the police. I was supposed to show you the Barbados. If it's too much, it's too much. I cannot. No, it must be here. Yeah. Okay, this is the 2008 Awakening playlist, pretty much. But here is Barbados from Japan. Let's fucking metal punk. So the people you see here is like Yasuyuki, the guy from Barbados, and the rest of the guys are Finnish people, and all of them my friends. Juuso, Aksu, Arttu. They were pretty much. Arttu's band is Ordinance. Really crown jewel of Finnish black metal. Check out the demo and the 2 full lengths. So Ordinance was starting to tour around those years, and for reasons they were chosen as the backup band from Barbados, and I was their tour driver for that tour. Tampere, Turku. There was supposed to be Karjaa. They did play Karjaa, but I couldn't drive there. I was in Helsinki. Then the last show at Factory, this ended up the tour. Okay, so that's pretty much started the whole scenario of I had everything inside this unsolved tribulation of this unsolved shadow of this desperate long distance whatever desperation manifesting from lack, and never speaking about this, but there's always party around. It starts to drain when you are misaligned already, and then we went to partly same people. We went to Roadburn. That was the first time for me, in Holland, this kind of doom metal / avant-garde festival. I eventually went there 4 times. Yeah. That year Barbados, roadburn, then going to Germany to Festung, heavy drinking. But the April roadburn thing, when you were allowed to smoke pot legally, this wasn't part of my diet before. It was just like work hard, drink hard, suppress your emotions. So then I realized that my pattern of thinking was like problem centered. When I couldn't speak, the obstacles became so large. But when I was under the influence of the consciousness started to shift towards this kind of problem solving state. When you're able to self reflect what the apes did when they took the mushroom. Oh, self reflection among language and religion, etc. Self reflection. Are my obstacles really so hard to overcome? I can only change myself, not the others around. When I heal my wounds from where they are, not circling around them, that can potentially change the universe. Oh yeah, so football and ice hockey were like positive aspects in that melancholic lifestyle. But I was living in the countryside with two friends around 2008 when the summer ended. You know, it had roadburn, festum, heavy drinking, gigs, club gigs, nummirock, jalometalli. In between there was swamp soccer world championships. We went with Väärä-Vesa team, or we called our team Suospurvut at that tournament. It's called the Swamp Drunkards. It was a heavy summer in many ways, not being able to solve the inner turmoil, inner turmoil. So like yellow metal is something that happens at the end of the summer, August. And that was the moment I was like near the breaking point psychically. I had been several times before. I was like, fuck. I'm never gonna be able to navigate in life with this mentality or patterns of. Okay, and at the end of the summer, there was also Lugubrum and Urfaust gig around September in Tampere. Yeah. Maybe it. Fuck. Yeah, it had to be 2008. Or was it 2007? Okay. But it is not so important. But anyway, the national shock that happened 2008 that must have resulted in many sensitive people experiencing the same thing I did was that there was a school shooting in Jokela where Pekka-Erik Auvinen shot many students, young students. I saw it clearly, and it's in the Uudenmaa region, Oudenmaa, Odin's land. In the middle of Uudenmaa, and I was living north of Uudenmaa in Hikiä, which is like just where Uudenmaa ends and Kantahäme begins, Hyvinkää, Riihimäki. So it's only like 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers apart from Jokela. So very close in a way, and this is like pretty much like it's just half an hour north from Helsinki city, so pretty much like suburb of Helsinki in many ways, but still countryside. But for me, it was clear like this is a result of that fact that our consciousness in this modern way is in the root chakra. It's not elevated, and we suffer because we are not being nurtured. We try to nurture our senses, but something more essential will never get nurtured, and thus we suffer because we decide to, and we are unable to navigate through. Okay, children get bullied a lot. This person was bullied. Some other people started it, he ended it. One day, the day this happened, I was alone at the mansion, and I was, for reasons, I was listening to Japanese band Corrupted, El Mundo Frio, like real doom metal. So my roommates arrive, and the other one, who's more impulsive than the other, he's like, this guy has sympathy for the mass murderer. Like, whatever. Then another day, we are having like a Texas Hold'em tournament at the mansion. We have invited some friends, and I've been attacked by the same person. Like, what the fuck are you thinking? You are always silent. You don't express your emotions. You are like potential killer. I'm like, yeah, fucking kill me. Because I was in the point I didn't care. I thought life has nothing to offer for me, and I have nothing to offer. I'm unable to offer anything to anyone. So fucking kill me. No emotions again. But little by little, because before I thought I won't burden others with myself personal drama, until that coming to the moment that I see it's better to speak out, to break open, than to implode inwards with the thoughts that are messing the mind. So that was like the first moment, 2008, end of the summer, fall, which caused elevation, but the world around wasn't ready, and I was still in a juvenile state. I was like 24 years of age. Becoming aware that modern man misery. Yeah, and you know, in Finland there was like this trend of watching like reality TV, like Big Brother and shit like that. That when you went to the supermarket, you saw like the tabloid magazines, the yellow press. They're like, oh, this guy did this and this in Big Brother. Finnish people's disease is that we triumph when we see our brethren stumble and fall. Is that what it's all about? So, like, then there's one day or 2 days maximum, like this topic of where does this national distress originate from? Why there is school shootings in the happiest country of the world? Think about it. And I thought about it. I was alone in many ways. I was working night shift, no connection or little connection with the real world. I had connection with football, etc. but I observed from distance, watching from a distance without the strength to dream. Around those days, also the Control movie, speaking about Ian Curtis of Joy Division, surfaced, and it was mind blowing. Okay, so I thought, 24 years of age, this news in the radio, in the papers, Pekka Eriks killed so many. Okay, at the end of the week, again, Big Brother, let's enjoy the stupid behavior of stupid people. So that whole topic was like brushed under the carpet. It's so easy to give up after a romance fades if one is stuck in loneliness, if the career path makes one miserable, etc. To see setbacks as necessary ingredients in the path of growth. Self-reflection. Yeah, I put some notes. Some notes go to shelf. I went through that I was the trusted driver on so many trips, and I opened my mouth in subjects I knew something of, like what's it in my job, how other people misbehave or behave in a toxic way. So like I was driving the car, friends who were normally more audible or talkative, they listened to me when I was driving because I was trusted person there. But the topics I was discussing about was like, yeah, football, job, blah, 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 blah. It's my survival mechanism, or was the way not to go too deep or to do too abstract. My life is not so exciting. Happiness comes from something external. I suffer because of circumstances. And this comes to Kingston Wall Trilogy album. That was part of the playlist then. Circumstances are something you just can't avoid. Ismoillaanko Blanco Spirituals, päästäänkö irti, song, everything in this, taivaan tulet, I will cite it later. Arni, Finnish Doom, here is, not here, there's one demo where their frontman, or the only man who has different manifestations, as you can see. Many manifestations. He sent me like a personalized, I think it's yeah, this. He's like the playfulness of Finnish language can be experienced through this. He wrote to me this transcendental object at the end of time. It's like a doom in troll. You know, doom in troll. That is how you say, levitating. Tapa tapa in Finnish means kill, but you know in Sanskrit it's austerity or self restriction. How you say? This guy says, Väärä-Vesa, nauti. Hello, Vesa, enjoy. Terve also means healthy. Become what you want. And this one that is inverted says, älä lue kaikkea mitä uskot. Don't read everything you believe in. Magister Varjoma. Never met him personally, but how he touched the alchemical gold with that letter. And there was this 2393 thing, 93 again. Love is the law, law under will. Do what thou wilt, doom what thou wilt. We are all creators, luoja. We create the reality that we witness. I started to see more clearly then, but more of that later. I don't have the Kingston Wall trilogy album in a physical format, so if anyone has it CD, LP, I will pay something. Yeah, these Arni records, they are something you should check out, you know. A doom band that is not so much emphasized when we speak of Finnish metal, Finnish doom metal. Everybody knows Tervaton maybe, Skepticism, Reverend Bizarre, Lord Vicar, Spiritus Mortis, those bands. Arni. It's something else. I also bought, just pretty much seeing Helmi-levyt release Profeetta ja Uusi maailmanuskonta. I was like watching this at the record stop, and I was like, Ordo, Umu, Occultis, NSAPA, yhtä tyhjän kanssa, meaning one with nothing, psykodraamaa, psychodrama, yeah. Taike, Pukunski, aika. Uniikki myytti. Psykoosi on matka. Psychosis is a long journey that you have to go until the end. You have to journey it until the end. True that. Sykkivä symboli. A pulsating symbol. Ekstaattisen psykoosin mysteerio. The mystery of the psychotic ecstasy. And this is like reggae made with Commodore 64, I think. Finnish reggae with machines. Never stop the madness. I already went through this with Terence McKenna thing, but yeah, we are an ape with a symbiotic relationship to a mushroom, and that has given us self-reflection, language, religion, and all the spectrum of effects that flow from these things. And speaking of psychedelic mushrooms, they have brought us to this point, and as we make our relationship with them conscious, we may be able to take control of our